Summary of Scythe by Neal Shusterman. As Scythe Curie writes in her Gleaning Journal, she gives the reader with a history of the world she lives. People became ageless in 2042 and formed the Scythedom to control population growth. The Scythedom is made up of scythes, who are trained to glean or kill others forever. The only job that isn't being watched over by the Thunderhead, which is a more advanced version of the cloud that has taken the place of government and is watching over everyone. As people have become ageless, they no longer see the point of living. People today, like Curie, don't know what it was like to live knowing that you were going to die. Citra, who is 17 years old, is terrified when Scythe Faraday shows up at her family's door and asks to have dinner. Citra screams at him because she and her parents are scared that he will glean them. He says that he's here to get their neighbor. Soon after, Faraday goes to Rowan's school to get Cole Whitlock, the quarterback. Rowan refuses to let go of Cole's hand when Faraday electrocutes him, which makes his classmates avoid him, including his best friend Tiger. Faraday asks Citra and Rowan to be his students, and both of them say yes. But only one of them will become a Scythe. Faraday thinks that the age of mortality's data on unintentional deaths should be used to pick his victims. For example, he picks a brave dog lover because a lot of people used to die while saving their pets from wild rivers. Another strange thing about Faraday is that he has to go to every funeral for the people they gather. Even though Faraday takes his vows as a Scythe very seriously, he doesn't always follow the rules. For example, when a man fought back, the law says Faraday has to kill the man's whole family. But Faraday protected the man's wife and children, which shocked Citra. Because Faraday tells them to, Citra and Rowan get stronger as they learn killcraft, science, and the arts. They learn the martial art Black Widow Bakator together. Over time, Rowan and Citra start to like each other, but they try their best to avoid their feelings because Scythes aren't supposed to fall in love or have families. In another place, Scythe Goddard and Scythes Rand, Volta, and Chomsky do a mass gleaning on an airplane and then in a mall food court. Chomsky loves using a flamethrower, so both of them are bloody and fiery. As he looks around the mall, the bloodthirsty Goddard saves Esme, a 10-year-old girl, and takes her home with him. He lives in a house that he took from Maxim Easley, a scared business executive who now has to work as Goddard's pool boy. Vernal Conclave comes in May. Every year, there are 3 conclaves. These are the only times that the Scythedom keeps an eye on itself. At these events, apprentices are also tested, and rings are given to new Scythes. Sitara is worried when she hears that Xenocrates, the High Blade of Mid-America, didn't know that Faraday had 2 students, which is not common. Sitting in caucus, Citra and Rowan see Goddard, who is wearing clothes covered in diamonds, and notice that Faraday doesn't like him at all. The events in the morning are formal and involved Citra. At night, Scythe Curie tests the trainees with questions meant to see how moral and smart they are. Rowan gives up on her test to make Citra feel better, but she fails by lying about the worst thing she's ever done. A very late move is made by Scythe Rand that when Citra and Rowan's training is over, the student who becomes a Scythe should glean the other apprentice. Xenocrates lets it go. Faraday tells Rowan and Citra that nothing will change the morning after assembly. He is still upset about the news. Rowan and Citra kiss while he's away to get the feeling out of their bodies. They wake up that night to find 2 Blade Guard cops and Xenocrates on Faraday's steps. Faraday had self-gleaned, which meant he killed himself. This means they are no longer apprentices and won't have to glean each other. But Scythe Goddard has offered to train Rowan, and Scythe Curie will train Citra. This means that Faraday's effort was for nothing. As a trainee, Curie should cook for her boss, but Citra doesn't trust Curie because she lives in a fancy house and cooks for her. Early the next morning, Curie takes Citra gleaning and suddenly, and without notice, stabs a man she says is stagnant. In the evening, Curie calls the man's family to her house for dinner to protect them and share in their sadness. Citra starts to trust Curie and tells her the worst thing she's ever done: she pushed a friend into a truck when she was a kid. Citra has to find her friend Rhonda flowers, say sorry, and let Rhonda push her in front of a truck. Rhonda says no, which makes Citra feel stupid. Because it sees everything, Curie tells Citra that the Thunderhead saw her push Rhonda. This makes Citra wonder if someone killed Faraday and if the Thunderhead saw it. Rowan makes the choice to let Citra win the Scythehood. When he gets to Goddard's house, there is a huge party going on to honor him. Goddard says the house and party goods were given to the Scythes for free because they can't own much and he thinks they should enjoy life. Goddard tells Rowan that Esme is the most important person at the party, but Rowan still talks about her. The party goes on for one more day. Volta takes Rowan to a wine cellar when it's over. Rowan can heal fast and not feel pain because Goddard and his team turn off his pain and healing nanites. They then beat him up badly. It's Volta, Esme, and then Goddard who go see Rowan. Goddard says Rowan has to be in pain in order to have a clear head. After starting to train every day on dummies, Rowan feels like he is changing into a mindless, killing machine. Goddard tells Rowan that he should enjoy killing. Only Volta, Rowan thinks, doesn't really believe in Goddard. However, Volta stands by the first time that Goddard makes Rowan practice gleaning on real people. Rowan doesn't like himself at all. She is looking for the family of one of Curie's gleaning victims one afternoon when she ends up in a Tonist monastery. She is there to find Brother Ferguson, who is a Tonist. He says that the Tonists don't think that being killed by a scythe is a real death and won't take care of his sister's body or attend her funeral. After Citra hits the bid end, a huge tuning fork that makes the sound of the universe, Brother Ferguson says that tonism stops people from becoming stagnant. This makes Citra even more angry. It's time for Citra to start looking for proof of Faraday in the Thunderhead's backbrain. She only learns important things after putting together proof to back up her theories using some of her own photos from the area where Faraday died. Goddard tells Rowan that it's time to go to one of his group gatherings. This time, it will be at Magnetic Propulsion Laboratories. His crew takes a chopper to the building, lands on top of it, and starts killing everyone they can inside. Rowan tries his best to show people doors that aren't watched. Goddard tells Rowan that the firemen can't put out the fire from Chomsky's flamethrower because it's scythe action when he says they're done. He lets Rowan wear his ring so that survivors are safe. That night, he has a feast, but Rowan leaves to play cards with Esme. Rowan finds Volta crying in his room later. Volta knows that Goddard is bad, but he doesn't think there's any way to get away from him now. At Harvest Conclave, Citra is mad that Rowan is surrounded by trainees who love him. When they finally have a chance to talk, she tells him quietly about her study and why she thinks Goddard killed Faraday. A Bockator match is the test for the trainees. When Rowan and Citra fight, they both try to let the other person win. But Rowan knows that he has to do something big to let Citra win the Scythehood. She is dead for several days after he snaps her neck. Goddard throws yet another fancy party. Overhearing Xenocrates and Goddard talking about how to get rid of the girl, Volta finds it strange that Goddard makes Xenocrates jump into the pool by putting a knife to Esme's neck. After the party, Rowan talks to Goddard about this and the fact that Citra thinks he killed Faraday. Volta later told Rowan what he had found out: Esme is Xenocrates' illegal and unmarried daughter, so Xenocrates will do anything Goddard asks to keep her presence a secret. Citra finally tells Curie that she thinks Faraday was killed and that she told Rowan about her thoughts. Citra is told by Curie to stop her study and focus on becoming a scythe so she can fight evil from the inside. In the afternoon of that day, Citra is home by herself when she is arrested by two Blade Guard soldiers and taken to Xenocrates. He and Scythe Mandela say she killed Faraday, and to show her proof, he shows her a journal entry in which Faraday says he's scared that his female student is going to kill him. Citra pushes Faraday aside and jumps off of Xenocrates' building, leaving herself deadish. It talks to her while she's dead and says it worries about what will happen to the Scythedom. It also gives her a clue: the name Gerald van der Gans. After 4 days, Citra and Curie wake up in the Chilean-Argentine area. Curie says that someone tried to frame Citra, and the item in her book was actually about her more than 100 years ago. Faraday was her teacher and later her lover. It is she who sends Citra Tonist north to Amazonia and gives her clothes. Citra thinks she's looking for Gerald van der Gans, who killed Faraday, but when she gets there, she finds Faraday himself. Gerald was his childhood name, and Curie is the only one who knows he's hiding out in retirement. He takes over Citra's training again. A few days before Winter Conclave, Citra goes home after being found not guilty of any charges, and Goddard leads his team on a mission to steal from a Tonist monastery. Blood is spilled and the whole thing is horrible. Volta has a moral crisis after gleaning a room full of children and then wipes her tears on herself. Rowan burns down the building, killing Goddard, Chomsky, and Rand, and then acts like a scythe to get the firemen to leave it alone. Following 2 days, Xenocrates meets Rowan and tries to blame Rowan for the tragedy until Rowan admits that he knows about Esme. Rowan and Citra both take their last test the next day. Citra is upset that she has to make her little brother Ben look dead in front of a panel, but she does it with kindness. At conference the next day, the Scythedom made it illegal to gather with fire, and Citra got the ring for her scythe instead of Rowan. She is determined to adopt the name Anastasia Romanoff because, in her words, it stands for the chance for a better future. Rowan is hit in the face with her ring just as she turns to grab him. This protects him. He is told to go to a car that is waiting outside. When he gets there, Rowan is shocked to see Faraday driving. In her gleaning notebook, Citra writes that she has heard that Scythe Lucifer, an unofficial scythe, is using fire to kill other scythes that should not be used.
About the author. Shusterman was born in Brooklyn, New York, and read a lot as a child. When he was 16, his parents moved the family to Mexico City. After high school, he went to the American School Foundation in Mexico City and got bachelor's degrees in both psychology and theater. After college, Shusterman worked for a short time at a talent agency in Los Angeles. Within a year of starting work there, he got his first book deal and started writing for movies. A lot of his books, like the novel Challenger Deep, which came out in 2015, have won awards and prizes, and some of them, like Scythe, are being turned into movies. Shusterman lives with his kids in Southern California.
Hope we summarized it fully and you liked it. Please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel so that we are motivated to create more videos.